Yeah, it was ugly. Yeah, but it was always we knew it was going to be ugly just with the state that we're kind of in at the moment. So, Andrew, for example, was amazing. He had one practice session. He's less than 36 hours from when he landed. He was cramping up at the end. He made some big shots to set himself in, but we knew his basketball to come is going to be brilliant. It's going to be really, really good. So, we didn't know how his time on the court was going to be, so it was important that we had everybody else in that helping him out, being in those positions. So we kept it fairly simple with what we wanted to do the playbook-wise. We knew we could probably get in some matchups, which was a bit more argy-bargy around the paint, especially when we struggled a little bit from the perimeter. So we wanted to get Sko low. I didn't mean to rhyme. We meant to get Sko in the post and Jack in the post as well, and him looking to create. Him in the on-ball with Marcus was really good, because we knew we could, again, try and confuse maybe the defence having a four-man come off a five-man in the on-ball. We had some luck with that in the first half. Then we found ourselves in a bit of foul trouble. And then we found ourselves getting a little bit fatigued and sore, and it's just a matter of, finding a way to win. And that was what I really appreciate with the guys, is they found a way to win. And especially on the defensive end, it means a lot.
Talk to me a little bit more about Andrew. Obviously, he struggled shooting the ball early. I think missed the first 7 or 8 shots, something like that. And then obviously found his range towards the end of the game, but also provided a lot of value, I imagine, in the playmaking facet. Clearly pleased with the performance as a whole.
Yeah, and again, I think from even our previous experience when we did those Australia-USA games, and we flew to Washington, and 2 days later we're playing the Wizards, and I just remember the heavy legs and the fatigue and the jet lag, and where his home is, tip-off was 1:30 in the morning, I think. So, adjusting for that time is difficult. You got to allow us that. So, no, I think he just showed how much of a professional he is, and he's only going to get better. He's only going to get better.
You didn't leave any doubt about your feelings after the round 1 loss. Were you pleased with how the boys kind of responded out here tonight?
Yeah, we had a big week. We wanted a response. I didn't want to wait, till it was, round 4 or round 5. It was disappointing, and knowing how great the fan base is, and it was our first home game, and we really want to put an emphasis of defending home court. And so, this is, again, credit to the group. It was a brutal week in a sense of what we wanted to do on the floor. And maybe that also reflected with how we were sort of a little bit lethargic and heavy in that fourth quarter. And that's something we'll adjust for as the season goes on. An example I give, I basically thought Alex, for example, last week had the worst 15 minutes of his playing career. And then tonight he was fantastic. He got rebounds, he got deflections. Defensively, he was all in the right spots. So again, that's one example of someone responding from the criticism of last week. Just really happy with the group.
I think cut the turnovers approximately in half this week compared to round 1. Clearly, obviously, having another point guard out there helped, but I suppose I imagine it was a whole team effort to bring that down and back to a normal amount, I suppose.
I think it's a different style too. I mean, Southeast were pressing full court more, and I think we're going to experience that against Sydney on Sunday. So it's going to be, again, the criticism that I had of the group last week. It's really important that we don't want to sit here now and put our feet up and think the job's done. I want the boys to enjoy tonight and go to sleep and get a good night's rest, but wake up knowing that we're facing a very different team on Sunday that, again, has a lot of defensive weapons like Bull that will pick up full court. Delhi will get it after at full court. Xavier Cooks will get after at full court. So, we don't want to sit here and think, oh, great, it's fixed. There's still things we need to work on. It was an ugly win. I like ugly wins. Don't get me wrong. I'll take an ugly win over a pretty loss any day of the week. But it's important that, this is still early days, and we are playing a little bit of catch-up with the changeover in the point guard position and some of the injuries and the high minutes of guys. So we don't want to take our foot off the pedal and rest or take a moment thinking we can just relax.
You referenced the full court defense. Obviously, the Bullets rolled out a full court press late in that fourth quarter. They were trying to bring the game back. Felt like it threw you guys off a little bit. Was there something to that and something that you need to correct for Sunday at all? Or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Works for me.
At the start of the week, you had said about 3 players last week kind of played to their potential. Do you still feel that, or has that number jumped?
Yeah, definitely increased. And again, I use Al as an example. I thought, and I knew Al was playing out of position a little bit. I think Al was trying to do too much. I think Al played exactly to his job description. This is what makes Al uniquely Al. He got rebounds, he got blocks, he got deflections, but I think what sums it up the best was there was a moment where the ball drove, it got kicked out, it reversed to Al on the wing, and he drew a defender, and he was wide open for the shot, but then he kicked it to Sko in the corner, and Sko ended up hitting that shot. And that's an example of like a good to great shot. You know, Trev Gleeson, when I worked for him at Perth, used to say this all the time, like good to great. Al's a good shooter, Sko's an elite shooter. And so sacrificing your own shot really just for the better look in the corner, and then Sko hit it, and it's like the crowd's up and about, and you know that's an example right there of someone who just, you know, took the job description and absolutely nailed it. And so, you know, the expectation now is, again, Al, don't think this praise means you can take Sunday off. I need you to do it again and again and again and again. And winning's hard. Like, winning's hard. Sometimes it's ugly. Winning's hard. And you can enjoy it now. But, you know, when you're practicing and you're playing, you got to do all the gritty things, the things that people don't like to do.
And I guess how are you going, it's only been 2 games, but how are you going to ensure that that consistency stays and that Sunday isn't another last week?
Yeah, it's early, you know, and you know, keeping the standards. So what we did at practice, and also a lot of that is also to do with the playing group, you know. So we will deliver things as a coaching staff on what the expectation is on the day, whether it's training or playing. But it's on the playing group to enforce it. And that happened multiple times. There's examples of Sko showing his leadership. There was examples of Jack showing his leadership. There was examples of Marcus showing his leadership. And that's the expectation of this experienced group. You know, Drew's, again, another guy that once he finds his voice in this group, he's got 10 years of playing at the most elite leagues around the world, you know. He even dropped some real good gems at practice where he said a little one-liner. It's like, yeah, that's actually quite relevant. So, you know, it's not necessarily me driving it. And again, we talk about it from a cultural standpoint. I can put all the signs up on the wall as much as I want to drive a culture. It's the people you bring in that enforce it. And we've got a real good group that are, you know, they're proud to represent this city. You know, they understand, you know, this fan base that came out tonight. And I've used this example multiple times. I've been in stadiums and arenas and you know, people will leave halfway through the 4th quarter just to beat the traffic. The traffic's created leaving the Cairns game here, right? Everybody stays regardless whether you're up 20, down 20, you win on the buzzer, you lose on the buzzer. And so I think, especially for the new guys, they really got to experience that. Cairns love this team and they're starved for success, but also they really appreciate if you just go out there and give everything, that's enough for them. But, you know, we want to give them more. So it's early days, but understanding that responsibility and playing a certain way with this group, the standards will always be up.
And do you think everyone kind of, you have mentioned again earlier, you assumed people knew their roles and their jobs. Do you feel like people didn't know their roles and their jobs tonight?
After this week, yeah, they definitely learned it. They definitely did.
Chris,
Awesome.
do you have anything?
Yeah, just a couple quickly for you. I thought Marcus had a really good battle with Farrell, but you would have been nervous once he picked up that 5th foul. How did you feel you weathered that in the last few minutes?
Yeah, barely. I actually gave Marcus a bit of stick. He needs to be better than that. He is an exceptional basketball player, an exceptional teammate. I kept him out there. It was on me. I rolled the dice, kept him on 4 because I thought he would be able to at least hold it. But then to get that backcourt foul, it was a silly one. He knows it's a silly one. I reckon he's more relieved than anybody else that we got that over the line. But, you know, KG, solid rim protection. Again, we went small ball knowing that, you know, Tyra Harrison's tough. Like, I think he barely missed anything until right near the end. But, you know, he's just a double-double machine. So, you know, Marcus did a great job. But when Marcus was off, I think it was a collective effort, especially on that rebounding, to secure those boards. We gave up a few. But, again, like, we got there in the end.
And just on Jack as well, I mean, he showed exactly why you wanted to bring him in. I mean, he hits the big shot at the end of the game, probably the biggest shot that puts you back in front, end up with almost a triple-double, and I'm sure he enjoyed his first home game.
Yeah, you know, he, like I said, he was everything and everywhere. I played him pretty much the entire 39 minutes, right? And he's got an incredible motor on him. Yeah, this is what we brought Jack in for, and even his ability to make those plays off the rub action with Marcus was pretty cool. So he's only finding his feet and getting more comfortable, right? So again, it's early days for everybody, Jack included. So he'll just continue to thrive and get better in this system as we learn each other more about how each of and all of us operate.
Thanks, Forde.
Thank you, appreciate it. Very good.